Again, to animate something, making sure that every object you want moving or fading is on its own layer. Now you can have multiple things on the layer, just like I have this text in this case of wine all on the same layer because they're going to move together. But if you want something to move by itself, you can have that, like the title here. So again, I have my object here. I don't want the 3D effect. I want to convert it. So go under Object, Expand Appearance. Notice it kind of converts it into an object with a bunch of dots around it because it converted it into an object. So now the 3D effect is not there anymore and it sees it as an object. I'm going to do the same thing with the font. I don't want this to be font to have font problems in another program, so I can go underneath Type, Create Outlines. Create Outlines will convert text to regular, and same with this one right here. I'm going to convert this to Create Outlines. Now, of course, once you do the Create Outlines, you can't edit the text anymore, but hey, it's ready to animate. Again, I did some things to prepare my objects, convert them into normal kind of objects so that any effects will not come over usually to a 3D program. Once I'm done doing all that, I save it as an Illustrator file. The Illustrator file is fine, especially for Flash. Okay, so it's saved. Make sure all the things are checked. Hit save. Okay, I'm going to minimize Illustrator and I'm going to go into, hopefully we have Flash on these computers. Let's go into the application folder and we go into Adobe Flash. Adobe Flash. Now Flash has been around. I think I already told you my story, but I'm going to tell you my story again because I love history. Back in 1995, little old me, walking around in San Francisco, went to the Seabold convention. Seabold is what's a printing convention for mostly printing. Before the internet days, there was printing conventions, and we would go to a graphic arts convention, and it's called Seabold. And I'm walking around the Seabold, and there's a guy there with a Silicon Graphics box on his desk and a monitor, and he's showing me vectors. And he says, look, I have vectors here, and the vectors are going to go on the internet, and they'll download very fast. And he was showing me vectors over the internet.
No, there was no. I thought this was before the internet days.
Yeah, well, 1995, the internet was just coming out. I just bought my first modem. So I meant there was not many conventions for the internet. Nowadays, it's internet conventions. What I'm trying to say is, back then, there were printing conventions. So he had a computer. Silicon Graphics computer was, the most powerful computers you could probably buy at those times. And he was showing vectors, and I knew what a vector was because I've been using Illustrator since 1988. Oh yeah, vectors over the internet. And it was called Future Splash. And I met the guy who invented Flash. It was Flash who was demonstrating, basically. And of course, then Macromedia bought Flash, Macromedia bought Future Splash, and he changed their name to Flash. Yeah. So I met the guy who invented Flash at the convention. He was all by himself. No sign at all either. It was just a computer. It was a vector. Well, the problem is nobody wants to use the Flash plugin. The Flash plugin is not very secure. At least that's what Steve Jobs said. That's why I didn't want it on iPad. So, but you can do things in Flash and then export it out as HTML5, or you can make it a GIF animation, or you can make it into a video. There's a variety of other ways to export it out of the program. So how Flash works and how any animation program works is there is a timeline. So just like we see inside of Illustrator, right, we have layers. So what this will do is it'll have a layer for each one, a layer for each one of the objects. I had 4 objects, right? I had a background, I had wine bottle, I believe it was, then I had some text, and then I had a box with a thing, right? So it's going to come in like this. Now, all animation programs work on time. You'll have 0 here to whatever, and most animation programs work at 24 frames per second. Most animation programs have something called a playhead. It's going to be a red playhead. When you hit like spacebar or the playhead, what happens is the little bar starts traveling down the timeline. It travels down the timeline at 24 frames a second. So it'll go 24 pictures. And think of each frame as a picture. So what we're doing is we're altering a picture an object to do something over time. How things animate in the program is you'll have a keyframe, the beginning, the little dots, and those dots represent something. Maybe the object is faded, it's transparent, or maybe the dot it is, rotated, whatever. A dot represents a moment in time. So how you animate is you make other moments in time, and what the computer will do, hold on, is it will calculate the in-between options. Okay, so let's say that this one has the opacity at 100%, and this one has the opacity at 0%. What the program will do is calculate all the different levels in between 100% and 0%. Okay, Miranda, you got a question?
When I was using Flash, there were two symbols, there's a square and a dot. What are the squares?
A square means you're not moving it. It's a stationary object. A circle means it's doing something. So yes, there's a square that says, hey, don't do something. We'll do a square on the background because it never does anything, right? So that, yeah, you're right. That'll have a square.
Is there such thing as a tween point, or is that what the dots are?
The dots are tween points, yes. It's called a keyframe. Okay, so again, just think of the concept here. 0% opacity, 100% opacity, and the computer will calculate all the in-between ones, so it'll fade in. Yes?
I tried that, but I think I might have used too many stationary points, so the numbers they didn't use usually just don't fit it. Like, is that because I'm like round points?
Maybe. I don't know. I have to see that. Maybe. See? Do you want to try? You want to try it with me, or are you just going to watch? You want me to give you the file is what that I'm working on? You want to try? I got my file complete.
Yeah, and just watch their file and like,
Yeah. I can get. I'll put my file that I demonstrate, and I'll put it on Angel, and you can download it. How about that? See? Okay. Here we go. Here we go. So here's how I would do that. Again, I'm going to start with a new file. So here's one of the problems you're going to make is, of course, is you need a size, right? So I think we used, was it 300 by 600? Or what was the, remember we were following an ad size? Here, let's go back. I think it was 300. 300, width is 600 pixels by 300 pixels high, right? So make sure you know that before you start, because inside the program you got to tell it what size you want to use. So if I go under File, New, inside of Flash, I'm going to put in width of 600, and what was the height? 300? 300, and then there's 24 frames a second. Pixels. White background's fine, because we're going to use our background anyway. So there you go. You got a big thing. Okay, so now I'm going to import the Flash file. So you go under File, Import, Import to Stage. I'm going to say Import to Stage. And the reason why, what is a stage? The stage is the white area right here, right? So I'm going to go and grab all those layers that I just made and slap them right on top of here. Stage is called a stage. So I'm going to say Import to Stage. And it'll go and bring all my pieces in, and if I can find my file, I think it's on the desktop. I called it something. What did I call it? Amazon ad. There you go. And it's working on it. It's trying. Maybe not. Here we go. Open. No, it is trying. Now it's going to come up with a big window like this. It makes not a lot of sense, but that's okay. We're just going to read real quick. Layer conversion, maintain editable paths and effects. What that's asking you is, do you want to keep the objects as objects? Yes, I'm going to leave them as objects. Text conversion, I don't have to worry about that because I already told the text to be objects. Remember in Illustrator, right? Okay, so we don't have to worry about that. Convert layers to flash layers. Single flash layer keyframes. I'm going to leave flash layers. And the reason why this one is important, it's asking you different ways of bringing things in. The keyframe one is a little bit interesting. Maybe you wanted to do an animation, and instead of right now, we have kind of this kind of thing going here. But what if you wanted to have maybe somebody walking, right? What I could do inside of Illustrator is take the character, maybe a walking character here he is walking, and then I drew him again with his arm down a little bit, maybe up, and maybe he's dancing with the leg, kind of a knee action there, and then I drew him again here, you know, he's doing a disco thing here, knee action there, whatever. Okay, I could draw this on one layer, and then this on one layer, and then this on one layer inside of Illustrator, and then I want it to be kind of, instead of stacked up like this, I want to kind of rotate it so that it brings it in, so it'll have one layer in the timeline, and it takes each one of these and puts it into a different layer going down like that. So it goes boom, boom, so you would get this sequence going like this. Okay? That's where this one would come in. See where it says keyframes right here? It would take each layer and put it down the timeline like this. Okay? We're not doing it that way. We're doing it a little bit differently. Instead of doing it like this, we're going to have it stacked like this, and then we'll animate it within the program. But that's, I just want to point out, this is a very important one right here. Single layer, we'll switch all the layers down into one. We don't want that. We want them all separate so we can do things with them. So it would be flattened.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be able to animate because everything would be on one. In order to animate, everything has to be in separate layers. So I'm going to leave this default, and we don't have to worry about matching the size because it's already the right size. And I'm just going to hit open. Next, I'm going to click the timeline right here, and you'll see what came in. Again, the words came in just like they were in Illustrator, right? See them right here? This is the timeline. It has little dots like I drew on the board, right? Little dots. Each dot represents a moment in time. So to animate, you need to make decisions. What are some of the decisions? Which one's going to move first? How about that? And how they move. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I need to think a little bit about it. Now, of course, let's think of how long we want this to work. How about if it's 24 frames a second, we want it to animate for 3 seconds? Or how about we keep it short? Yeah, 3 seconds. What's 3 times 24? 72. So the background's never going to move, so I'm going to go all the way out to number 72, right here. I'm going to click where the background is, so I'm going to start making decisions. So I click where the background, notice how it's kind of yellow right now, or orange, whatever you want to call it. I click it at number 72, and I'm going to hit F5 on the keyboard. And say, what happened? Everything disappeared. Well, what it has done is, when I hit F5 here, which is a square one, it's not moving. It's going to stay where it's at. So I put an F5 here because it's not moving. Use F5 if it's not doing anything. But what I needed to do was paint the background. I use the word paint. I needed to spread the background all the way out to 72. Okay, so basically this is like spreading the background out for the entire length of the animation. Okay, and notice the reason why things disappeared is because there's no artwork for the other layers yet. I mean, they'll come back. We will make artwork for the other layers. In fact, let's go and do that. I tend to animate backwards. All programs I tend to animate backwards. And what I mean by that is I know I want the final to look the way it is, but I don't know where I want it to start. So here's how I'm going to go about doing it. I'm going to click on the next layer, and I'm going to hit F6 on the keyboard. Makes a round dot. Then I'm going to hit F6 on the keyboard. Makes a round dot, and then I hit F6 on the keyboard, and makes a round dot. Okay, so I have a round dot. So I know it wanted to end like this. This is the end. Right? So boom, hey, the end is correct. Now let's go back and start changing it over time. Okay, how we change it over time is by moving the playhead where I want it to do something, and then put a keyframe in there, and then do something to that keyframe. For example, in this case, let's use the wine bottle first. I want it to come flying maybe from over here outside the visible area, and maybe come spinning in and boom, stopping right there. It's going to be bigger, so it's going to be small and it's going to big. Okay, it's going to kind of grow and spin. So if I want it to grow and spin, how do I want it to start? Well, I'll go to the beginning of the wine bottle, And let's say I wanted to grow and spin for the first second. So I'm going to go out to 24. 24 is one. And I'm going to hit the F6 again. Remember, the F6 is a magic one. It puts a round dot. You can't see it, but there's a little round dot there. So again, from the beginning of the animation, the wine bottle is going to be tiny, way in the corner, and it's going to spin and get big and stop right there. So for the first second, so I go to the first second, which is 24, and I hit F6 on the keyboard. F6 is the magic number to make a keyframe. Okay, so let's go back to the beginning, the first one, and I'm going to shrink it down. How do I shrink it down and do all those wonderful things I'm talking about? Well, you can do it by using, there is some tools. There's a transform tool, it's right here, called transform, and you have a transform tool inside of Illustrator. It's very similar, right? We want to shrink it down, so I click the transform tool, and I'm going to, whoa, I forgot this is in the same layer. I'm gonna get rid of this thing. I'm sorry. I forgot. See, I made a mistake. The grapes are in the same layer as this. I'm gonna have to delete the grapes. Hold on. I'm gonna delete them. Okay, sorry. I'm gonna go back. Oh, I have to delete them in every spot though too. Sorry, it was a mistake that I made. Okay, gone. No grapes anymore. Sorry. Here we go. There's the wine bottle. Again, we're going back to transform. You can click on scale in both directions. It's going to scale it really small. What I say, we're going to put it in the corner over here, and then we're going to rotate it. We can go back to transform and rotate it. Let's see. What's 3 or 4 times? What's 360, 360? I think we put in 360 times 3. I think that works. No. Can I go above 360? Okay. Usually in the animation window you can tell it how many times you want to rotate. So let's not worry about rotating yet. We scaled it down. We moved it in the corner. Again, over here it's big and where it needs to be. See it? Over here it's small and skinny. Over here it's big and ready. So how do I go from small and skinny to big? Remember, 2 dots. You can see the dots. Each dot is again F6. So I go to the first dot and I'm going to right click on it and I'm going to say create classic tween. This is how you tell it to do the animation part. Again, you have 2 dots already. You want to go from one dot to the other dot. To tell the computer to calculate all the things you want it to calculate, you click on the first dot and say create classic tween, and it'll come up with a window, and then in the window, what can we do in the window? Oh, here's the rotate. Here's the rotate right here. In the window it comes up. Here's the rotate, and we're going to say, do you want to go clockwise or counterclockwise? We want to go clockwise. That's probably better. And how many times we want to rotate? 1. How about we put it like 3 times? Okay, so it's going to go, and then there's an ease option that kind of, if you've ever seen animation on television or anything, a lot of times there's something called ease, which means it slows down towards the end. It makes it look a little better if you do an ease. So it slows down towards the end. I'm just gonna give it a 6. I don't know why. I just give it a 6. I don't know. I don't know calculation. I can't. So if we look at what happens, you'll notice it'll spin, 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 spin. Oh, it jumped. Why did it jump from little to big like that? It should have changed the size. I don't know why it didn't change the size. Oh, maybe we need to scale. There we go. I didn't hit the scale button. Let's see. Oh, that even got smaller. Okay, that didn't look good. Let me change this ease thing. I'm going to put this back to 0. It shouldn't jump like that. It should, and I don't know, maybe it's just because of the way it's doing it. Let's move on. It does spin and get bigger. Okay. Next we want the text. How about we do the title? So after that, and so we say to ourselves, we don't want the title to be on the screen until after the wine bottle flies. So we don't want the text to even start doing anything until after 24. So how can I move it? Well, I can take this first dot that we have, remember the first dot we got, and I can actually move it down the timeline so it doesn't start until then. Did you see how I clicked and dragged it? Drag it down the timeline. Hey, it's not even coming on the screen. It's not doing anything until number 24. So how about we just have that come down from the top? So for about, I don't know, a few frames, I'm going to hit F6, and then I'm going to go back to the first one, and I'm going to move it up top. There we go. So it's just going to come down, and so I'm going to click on it and say classic tween, and so the text would just move down. So after this wine bottle spins in, the text is going to come down. Last thing, we want to have the box and the text fade in, right? We want it to be transparent and then slowly fade in. Okay, how we can do that is we'll do that after the text starts coming down, sort of maybe right around here. As the text is coming down, we want the box and the text down here to fade in. Again, I'm going to move the first dot over a little bit until maybe halfway between the text coming down, because the text is about coming down right about there. Right now, see how it pops on though? We don't want it popping on, we want it fading on. So I'm going to put another keyframe, maybe it fades to about 50. Again, magic key on the keyboard is F6. F6 on the keyboard. So now let's go back to the first one, again to the first one. This time we want to tell it to be 0% opacity. You guys know about opacity, you have that in Illustrator. So I can go over to the properties window. Let me pull the properties window out. And it's not giving me properties. Maybe I need to make it bigger. There's got to be a way to make that transparent. Oh, click on the screen. Oh, it's a grouped object. It might not let me do this to a group. Let me see. Let me see. Let me see. Let me see. Not sure if I can do it to a group. I might have to convert it. Hold on, let me see. Modify, convert to symbol. Hit OK. Yeah, and then I can do it. I failed to mention that. I failed to mention that. So it needs to be something called a symbol in order to do the fading part. I think that's the problem with the wine bottle. That's why I didn't animate correctly either. So a symbol is a way of telling it to be special, right? We want to be special. And to be special, it needs to be something called a movie clip. And you know what? I should have done this in Illustrator Beam before I brought it in. You can actually make things a movie clip before you even bring them in. I should have done that first. Plus, you can't convert it to a movie clip twice. So I'm going to have to redo this all. Just give me a second. I'm going to have to redo this. I'm going to remove these frames. There we go. And let me start again. What was it? So to remove, delete key doesn't work in this program. Delete doesn't do anything. If you want to remove something, the best way to remove it is to drag across the frames, right click, and say remove frames. Don't hit delete. It's not going to get you anywhere. Okay, so what I had to do was, since I converted this to a symbol, and let me show you how I converted it to a symbol. To convert something to a symbol, I selected these objects, which it saw, and I went underneath whoosh, and I went underneath modify, convert to symbol. And by doing that, it took the text in the box and kind of grouped it. It's almost like grouping. Symbols, like, see how it sees it as one box now and not two separate things? Kind of like groups it. So in order to animate or fade this is what I want to do. It has to be a symbol. Again, to do that, I selected the layer and I went under modify, convert to symbol. Now the problem is I had to remove these ones over here because they were not symbols. And even though I made moments in time, remember I hit F6 and then I hit F6 over here, those weren't symbols. So I had to get rid of all that and kind of start over again. Now I can, this one's a symbol, it's perfect. I can come over here now and hit an F6 now, and I can go all the way over here and hit an F6 now. Okay, so now I can redo the F6s. So I should have done that first. Okay, so now it's a symbol. I can go to the first one, right here, and go to the properties window. Still, click on the screen, click on it here. Don't click down here. One of the problems with this program depends on if you click on the stage or down in the timeline, things will change. You can see that? See how things change? So if I click here, I can then go to the color effect or display options, and where's my the fade part is under color effect. It's going to be called alpha. Do you remember we were talking about alpha channel last class and how alpha is a transparent part, right? Do you remember that discussion last class? So if I go to alpha here, I can tell it to be 0. See how it fades off? Okay, so it's again alpha 0. It's under color effect. This is again a movie clip. I grab these, converted to a movie clip. Now if I do the classic tween, again, it was right click, classic tween, you'll see it'll fade in. And I think the reason why the bottle doesn't animate right is because it's probably not a symbol. That's why. If we made the bottle a symbol, I think it would animate a little differently. Probably animate right. But I don't have time to go back and do that. And you can't really convert it later on. So, I'm done. You say, what? You're done? Yeah, I'm done. You want to see it? You go under test movie. You go under debug. No. Where's test movie at now? Control. No. Play. Oh, test movie. And say test. It'll go and it'll play it, and there it fades in, and that's it. It's kind of boring, but it's how you can animate in Flash. So again, the problems that we ran into, if we would have made this a symbol, I think it would have animated better, the wine bottle. No, not everything has to be animated. But you should practice animating. Should try it. If you don't know Flash, it's okay. At least make me an ad for Amazon, right? You need to make an Amazon ad. And if you don't get it to animate, that's okay. What?
Can you turn in the ad as an AI file?
Yes. You can turn. I would rather have a PDF. No font problems. I would say convert to text anyways. And then of course there's some programming here. It's Flash has been around for a long time. We used to have Flash classes all in Flash. I used to have 2 Flash classes, one in programming. We've made several games. I used to teach people programming in Flash. We used to make the see and say, where you pull the string and the little thing would spin around. The cow says moo, right? We used to make see and say games. I still have them somewhere. And then we used to do Hangman, of course, is a good programming where you have to guess the letters and things like that. That's a good one. Maybe a lot of these things I used to teach in Flash I'll introduce into the app design class maybe, because I'm already starting to do that with the in the app class. We're going to be making a music player next week, and it's very similar to some of the things I'd be teaching in Flash. So a lot of the skills in programming. Maybe we can make a see and say in an app class. That would be kind of fun. So maybe some of those. So I made a video here. We'll stop it. How do I get it out of here? There's a variety of formats you can export out. The traditional Flash is called an SWF file, or you can make an animated GIF, or you can make it into a video if you want to put it on YouTube as a video or something like that. Where are those options at? They're underneath File, Export. You got Export Image, Export Movie, Export Video. Do you see them there? So if I say Export Movie, it's going to ask me what kind of movie. You can make a GIF, animated GIF right here. What is an animated GIF? Well, it's basically a series of frames. Animated GIF's a really good way of doing it. This is .gif, animated GIF. That's a good one. So that can be put on a web page. If you want to use the Flash format, which is called an SWF, which stands for Shockwave Flash, and that comes from a very old You can go underneath the save as. Let me see. No. How do I make a flash file? That's a good question. We can go under publish settings, and Java. Oh, it's going to make it into JavaScript. See, it's all doing HTML5 now. They're not even letting you make a flash file anymore. Look at that. Whoosh. I don't know. Look, you can't even make an SWF anymore. Look at that. Publish will make it into I guess a flat HTML5 object. No. Okay. I don't know. The animated GIF is fine. And then export, let's say video. Let's see. Yeah, video is fine. It makes it into a video file, MOV. So you can give it a name. Then you can put that on YouTube. How about that? Oh, geez, it's opening up Media Encoder. So it's going into a different program to make it into a video. Animated GIF is fine. It's a nice way that you could send it to your friend through email. I don't know. I told it to make a video, and now it's going into a separate program. I don't know. This is called Adobe Media Encoder. In this program, you can choose all the different video formats you want. You know, like YouTube, Vimeo, DVD. So I don't know. It's taking a while too. So think about that. I would just say